Okay, so I'm Jeremy, this is Ram, and today we're interviewing Mr. Kiran about raising awareness and causes of about poverty.
Hi, thanks. Good
So-
to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Sure. Fire away.
So, first question, what's your opinion on poverty in Indonesia among young people?
Among young people. Okay. My opinion about. Okay. Well, it's certainly around. Indonesia has. There's certainly poverty and in sort of all sorts of regions, and you can sort of. It is pretty visible, even around Jakarta, you can see very fancy, expensive buildings, and then outside there, Mercedes is going past, and you've got some people wearing rags pushing a cart of, rubbish that they're collecting from the streets. So it's certainly, visible, but certainly in your rural areas as well, there's probably a fair bit of poverty as well. So, it's certainly around, and but there's also some positive steps that are happening out there as well. So,
Alright. Obviously, it's going to be impossible to fix poverty in 1 year, 2 years. But what do you think? What kind of steps do you think we could take for the government and us to get on the right path to reduce poverty?
That's a very good question. A lot of it, I feel, is opportunity. Okay, so and education is a really big one. So a lot of people who get trapped in the cycle of poverty, it's because of lack of education, and a lack of education creates a lack of opportunities. Okay, so for example, if somebody can only go to primary school, or they don't finish, high school, when they go and look for work, that can limit them. So that's a really big issue. The people I know, I know my wife's family, for example. Her father, for example, if I give you an example, they had 5 or 6 siblings in their family. The eldest 2 went to senior high school. The rest of them couldn't afford it, and they couldn't go. So, and he was, I think, the 3rd child, so he couldn't finish senior high school, and that's limited his opportunities. So his 2 older brothers are much better, more well off, because they've both got better jobs, and even though he's a very smart person, he hasn't been able to access the level of jobs that they have. So that's a big one, I think, education, which leads to opportunities. Yeah. So that's something you can fix. Also, just making sure people have their own basic needs. Because if you don't have enough food, you can't access medicine, you can't access doctors. That's when kids have to go and work, instead of going to school, or people not being able to access medicine and stuff like that. So, right.
Our other questions are so in this make-believe scenario,
Yep.
you are the president.
Yep.
What would your steps be to combat poverty?
Good question. In a perfect world, having access to health is a massive one. Free healthcare for everybody is a big one. That often puts people in poverty. Right? Education for everyone. Good quality education, and also free. Okay, that's important. Up to senior high school. And opportunities for people. Also, improving infrastructure, making sure schools have proper resources, making sure people can access the internet, that adults have training as well. There's some big ones, creating work opportunities as well would be helpful.
So, what would the community community have to do together to help combat poverty? In your opinion?
The community.
To help.
Not sure if it's a community thing, really. I feel it's more of a government, and it's more of a government thing can do more, or NGOs perhaps. So I mean, the government's in control of the health system largely, or businesses as well. Government making sure businesses look after their employees and pay them a livable wage is important as well. So yeah, I think it's more of a government thing, and businesses rather than the community.
But
itself.
maybe like, what if they could take part in helping?
I mean, look, they do. I think they do, but I don't think it's as much their role. So I mean, a lot of communities are good. You might have heard of Gotong Royong, where Indonesian communities get together and try and work on things and do some community education or build facilities. But I think that sometimes they have to do that because the needs aren't being provided for.
So, what do you think poverty is common amongst lower and middle class?
Why?
Why is
Why
it?
do you think?
Because they can't afford their needs, the basic needs. So like poverty is about not being able to access the basic needs for people, right? So if they can't access, if they get sick and they can't go to the doctor, or they can't go to the hospital because they can't afford it, right? That's what's keeping them in poverty. If they can't earn a decent wage, like people in my wife's village, all right, they eat. They eat fine, they've got food there, they've got water there and all that, but paid work is hard to find, and getting enough money is hard to do. So those things like, getting access to medicines and things like that, that's some of the challenges they have. Or they get ripped off, that's another thing. They don't have a lot of power, and they can be taken advantage of by unfortunately, when they try and sell their produce or something, some corruption can creep in there and in the system, and it keeps them poor because they can't get as much money as they should get, which is really disappointing.
Do you think that religion has an effect on poverty?
I don't think so. That's a tricky question. I mean, sometimes religious organizations can have a positive impact if they do community work, but as far as like causing it, I don't know the answer to that.
Right. And the final question is: do you think that the corruption in the Indonesian government system is affecting poverty? If so, why?
That's a tricky question. Yes. It can. I don't really have specific examples of that, but it certainly can. I don't think it's an Indonesian issue. I think it's an everywhere around the world issue, really, to be honest. So if money is provided for governments or NGOs, it can also be in charities as well. If money is being provided to help people and that money isn't going to where it should be, yes, that's corruption, and that happens everywhere, unfortunately. So it's important to have in governments or whatever it is, if it's governments, if it's NGOs, to have accountability in that system. Yeah. But look, honestly, one thing I can say is, I think in my time here, I've been here for over 10 years. I've seen a lot of improvements in Indonesia in respects to that, because in my own family, wife's family, for example, they're now able to access like better healthcare than they did before with BPJS. So that's been a really good thing, I think. And also they got in the village, they got some grants to develop people's houses. So they got building materials provided by the government. They've had disaster relief provided by the government and by NGOs. My wife went to school at a school that was run by an NGO, by was it, the Salvation Army, I think it was. So you know,
There's some pros and cons.
there's certainly I've seen some positive things. There's a lot better looking after the rivers and environment around. So yeah, you know, there's been some positive things which is good.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
No problemo. Good luck.